I pulled into my driveway expecting a quiet evening grilling burgers for my kids. Instead, 3 police cruisers sat crooked at the curb with lights spinning. And Karen Delaney, the HOA president, paced my lawn like she was directing a raid. Phone pressed to her ear. Voice shrill, "Yes. Officer. Suspicious activity at 142, Oakwood Lane, someone's clearly squatting." The real kicker? Her entitled teenage son Dylan was sprawled in my recliner inside. Feet up. Controller in hand. Sipping my last Dr. Pepper like he paid the mortgage. My name's Ryan Ellis. I'm a single dad who travels for consulting gigs. Just trying to give my kids Sophie and Tyler a stable suburban life after the divorce. Willow Creek Estates looked perfect on paper, good schools. Tree-lined streets. That classic American dream vibe. What the listing didn't mention was Karen Delaney. Self-crowned queen of nitpicking. Who treated the HOA rulebook like her personal Bible and the rest of us like her disobedient congregation. The trouble started the week we moved in. Boxes still stacked in the garage. Kids running wild with excitement. When Karen appeared at my door wearing a pastel cardigan and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Welcome to Willow Creek," she cooed, handing me a thick binder. "I'm Karen, president of the Homeowners Association. Just a few community standards to review so everything stays harmonious." Her eyes scanned my slightly overgrown lawn and the U-Haul still in the driveway like she was cataloging war crimes. I thanked her politely. Big mistake. Within days the first violation notice appeared in my mailbox, typed. Official looking. And dripping with condescension. Lawn height exceeds 3.25 inches per section 7.4. I laughed it off at first. Who measures grass to the quarter inch? But the notices kept coming. Mailbox flag not regulation size. Trash cans visible for 11 minutes past pickup. My truck parked at an improper angle in my own driveway. Each one ended with the same cheerful threat, compliance requested to preserve property values. Fines begin at $50. I tried to play nice. Mowed twice a week. Repainted the mailbox the exact Willow Creek beige. Even bought a damn ruler to check the grass. But Karen wasn't enforcing rules, she was enjoying herself. She'd stroll by during her evening inspections, clipboard in hand. And call out in that syrupy voice. "Ryan. Dear. The begonias are looking a tad unruly. We do have standards." Neighbors would chuckle nervously and look away. I smiled back every time. Nodding like a good little homeowner. Inside, I was taking notes. Life settled into a rhythm. Mornings were serial chaos and school drop-offs. Evenings were homework battles and Tyler begging for 5 more minutes on his game. Sophie's soccer practices. Tyler's science fair disasters. Weekend bike rides around the cul-de-sac. It felt like the fresh start we needed. But Karen's shadow never lifted. She'd wave from across the street. Always watching. Always measuring. Then came the day everything snapped. I'd finished a client meeting in Dallas 2 days early and decided to surprise the kids. Rolling down Oakwood Lane at 4:30 p.m. I spotted the police lights first. My stomach dropped. Break-in? Fire? Then I saw Karen in my driveway. Gesturing wildly at my front door while barking into her phone. When she noticed my truck, her face did this beautiful thing, pure performance collapsing into panic for half a second before she plastered on the concerned neighbor mask. I parked. Stepped out. And kept my voice calm. Karen. What's going on at my house? She clutched the phone tighter. Ryan. We were so worried. The house looked unoccupied for days. We have a duty to protect the community from elements. One officer shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am called in possible unauthorized occupancy. I didn't wait for more. I pushed past the little circus on my lawn and opened my own front door. The smell hit me first, greasy pizza and teenage boy. The TV blared some violent shooter game. Takeout boxes covered my kitchen island. Muddy sneakers, definitely not mine, were kicked off by the couch. And there, thrown like in my favorite recliner, sat Dylan Delaney. 17 years old. Feet up. One of my sodas in his hand. He didn't even pause the game. Just glanced over with a lazy smirk. "Oh. You're back early." For a second I couldn't speak. Then the rage came in hot and clear. "Get out of my house." He shrugged. Thumbs still flying on the controller. "Mom said it was fine. You're never here anyway. Place was just sitting empty. We're keeping an eye on it for the neighborhood." Karen burst in behind me. Breathless. "Dylan. Honey, Ryan. This is all a misunderstanding. We noticed the house dark for several days. As president, I have a responsibility. You have a responsibility not to let your kid treat my living room like a frat house," I cut in. Voice low but steady. The officers hovered awkwardly in the doorway. One of them actually looked embarrassed. Karen folded her arms. Chin high. The community guidelines are very clear about maintaining appearances. Vacant-looking properties invite crime. We were acting in good faith. By breaking in? I asked. She gasped theatrically. The spare key is for emergencies. We're neighbors. The cops ended up calling it a civil matter and left. Dylan sauntered out behind his mother, shooting me a wink like we were in on the same joke. I stood in my trashed living room, staring at the greasy fingerprints on my family photos. And something inside me clicked into place. This wasn't about grass length anymore. This was war. That night I didn't sleep much. Instead, I started documenting every notice, every time-stamped photo of my perfectly compliant lawn, every receipt from the hardware store. I installed 4 security cameras, discreet, high-res, motion-activated. I told myself it was just insurance. But deep down I knew I was waiting for the next move. It came faster than I expected. The rumors started within a week. Mrs. Patel from 2 doors down asked if I was having money troubles because she heard I might be selling. Another neighbor jokingly asked if I'd abandoned the kids during my work trips. At the next HOA meeting, Karen stood at the podium in her pastel armor and sighed sadly. Some residents are struggling to maintain our high standards. It's unfortunate when one property brings down the whole community's values. She never said my name. She didn't have to. Eyes slid toward me like I was contagious. The fines escalated. $75 for inconsistent landscaping, $150 for my truck being visually obtrusive. One glorious notice demanded I repaint my entire house because the trim had faded unevenly. The total hit 4 figures. I paid some, contested others, and smiled at Karen every time our paths crossed. Beautiful evening, isn't it? I'd say. She'd narrow her eyes, sensing something was off but unable to pinpoint it. Then the cameras started paying dividends. The first clips showed Dylan and his buddies pulling into my driveway when I was in Atlanta for 3 days. They treated the place like an Airbnb, blasting music, ordering DoorDash on what I assume was my Wi-Fi, leaving beer cans in the bushes. One video caught Dylan bragging to his friends, "Dude, Mom runs this whole neighborhood. This house is basically ours until the loser sells or gets foreclosed." They laughed. I didn't. Worse footage came later. Night vision of Karen herself, flashlight in one hand and clipboard in the other. Creeping across my lawn at 1:17 a.m. She measured my grass with a literal tape measure. Took close-up photos of my siding. Peered through windows. She wasn't inspecting. She was manufacturing violations. I kept gathering. And then Mr. Alvarez from the end of the block knocked on my door one evening. Looking over his shoulder like a spy. He slid me a flash drive. She's been skimming dues for years. Payments to her sister's landscaping company for work that never happened. Thousands. Everyone's scared to speak up, but you're already fighting her. I smiled. Thank you, Frank. This helps. The night of the quarterly HOA meeting. The community hall was packed tighter than a Black Friday sale. People smelled blood in the water. Karen strode to the front in a power scarf. Clipboard gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She opened with her usual sermon about protecting our investment and maintaining harmony. I waited until public comments. When my turn came, I walked up calmly. Plugged in a laptop. And the projector flickered to life behind her. The room went dead silent as the first video played, Dylan and friends turning my living room into a trash pit. Gasps rippled. Someone whispered. That's his house. Karen's smile froze. These are taken out of context. We were checking on the property for the owner's benefit. Next clip, Karen herself trespassing at night. Tape measure out. Looking like a suburban burglar. The hall erupted. That's illegal. You broke into his yard? Phones came out. Recording. Karen's face went from confident pink to blotchy red. This is harassment. He's doctored these videos to attack me because he refuses to follow simple rules. I didn't raise my voice. I just clicked to the financials Mr. Alvarez had given me. Invoices. Bank transfers. Her sister's company paid $28,000 last year for common area improvements while the playground remained a rusting death trap. The room lost its mind. You've been stealing from us, a woman in the third row shouted. Karen slammed her clipboard down. Lies. This is a witch hunt. I called the police on him for a reason, he's unstable. She actually pulled out her phone and dialed 911 right there on stage. Voice cracking. Yes. I need officers at the Willow Creek Community Hall, there's a dangerous situation. The cops who showed up 10 minutes later were the same ones from my driveway weeks earlier. This time they weren't confused. They looked at the projector screen. Then at Karen. Then at the furious crowd. After a quick conversation with me and a review of the evidence, they asked Dylan, who had been smirking in the back row, to step outside. His smirk died when the cuffs came out. Karen's mask shattered completely. She screamed. Face purple. Mascara running. He's my son. This is ridiculous. I built this neighborhood. Papers scattered as she flailed. Neighbors filmed every second. The woman who had terrorized the street with beige paint requirements and quarter-inch grass measurements was having a full public meltdown. And it was glorious. The board had no choice. By the next morning Karen was removed as president. An independent audit was ordered. Within weeks, homeowners received refund checks for the skimming. New rules passed requiring transparency and votes for any expenditure over $500. The clipboard tyranny was over. Dylan got community service and restitution for the damage to my property. Karen sold her house 6 months later and moved to a condo downtown. Last I heard she tried to join another HOA board and was politely rejected. My kids and I finally breathe easy. Sophie's soccer games are louder. Tyler blasts his games without looking over his shoulder. Neighbors wave and actually mean it. The lawn is still 3.25 inches, because I like it that way, But nobody's measuring it with a flashlight at 1 a.m. anymore. Here's the thing about people like Karen, they don't just love rules. They love the power the rules give them to control everyone else. They wrap it in community standards and protecting property values while they quietly destroy the actual community. So tell me, was I wrong for fighting back with cameras, patience, and cold hard evidence? Or was Karen the real threat who turned neighbors into enemies and a peaceful suburb into her personal kingdom? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who was really in the wrong here?